brand new class with me, your host Shilpa Lalit, and I am excited to take you through the entire series of these paintings called Birds in Snow. We will be painting 5 beautiful paintings in this series, and I really hope you will enjoy creating these with me. We will first get started by looking at all the techniques used to paint these paintings, and then I will take you through all the paintings step by step. So without taking any more of your time, let's look at all the techniques that we will be using to paint these paintings. Okay, so I'm excited to share with you over here all the techniques that you will be needing to paint all these 5 paintings. The techniques are really easy, really simple. When you will look at these techniques, you will feel as if you don't really need to practice, you'll just get it in the painting. But trust me, practicing these techniques will be a game changer and it will make the painting part a lot more easier. Other than sharing with you the techniques that I'm going to share right now, I will also be sharing with you how to use the brushes to create the brush strokes that we'll be doing further, and I will also teach you how to take care of your brushes, how to clean your brushes. So these things will be the part of this video. Without taking any more of time, let's get started with the introduction to all the materials that you see over here. So this is Artyshils Art Canvas Pad. Canvas Pad is like a sketchbook made out of canvas, and it is very useful if you want to practice your techniques. Over here, as you can see, I have practiced the techniques before getting started with the final painting. Over here as well, you can see some of the techniques. So I'll just take out my fresh page in this Artyshils Art Canvas Pad to share with you all the techniques. And then over here I have some of the brushes that I have used in the main painting as well. I have some water over here, and over here I have a palette paper. I have linked the palette paper along the materials. So instead of using a proper palette and then cleaning that palette, I just use a simple palette paper. Okay, so after the palette paper, I have this rough cloth over here. It is an old t-shirt kind of cloth. I don't recommend using any kind of paper towels for acrylics because they tend to tear a lot. And then over here, I have my 2 acrylic paints. I just use my normal Liquitex Basics acrylic paints. So this is in red and this is a cadmium yellow. So with that being said, let's get started with the very first technique that we'll be needing in this painting. So for the very first technique, we will be looking at the wet on wet technique. So wet on wet technique is usually used for blending 2 paints. So as you can see, I have my fresh brush over here. I just cleaned this brush, so I'm just wiping it off dry without any water in it. And with a nice fresh brush, this is the Artyshils Art long hair filbert brush from the Effect 2 set of Artyshils Art brushes. I take my red paint and I apply my red paint like this on my canvas, as you can see. And while this paint is still wet, because acrylic paint dries very fast, while this paint is still wet, I just wipe my brush with the rough cloth. I'm not washing my brush, I just wipe my brush with the rough cloth, and I take my next paint, which is this yellow color, and I apply it besides the red color that we just applied. And then once again over here, I wipe my brush. I'm not washing my brush, I wipe my brush, and I lightly move the brush between the 2 colors where they are meeting like this. And I'm not pressing my brush to kind of blend it. I'm just, very lightly moving my brush between the 2 colors to create this beautiful blending effect from one paint to another, as you can see over here. So over here you see that the white is kind of overpowering the yellow, and if you want to increase the yellow, then you can just in the same brush take some yellow, wipe that brush and then take some yellow, and then once again apply the yellow in the lower part and blend it from the center very lightly like this. So as you can see, you get this beautiful gradation from one color to another. So just in case you applied red and the red dried up even before you apply yellow, so what we'll do is we will apply yellow over here besides the red. This step will be the same, and then wipe the brush and then take some more fresh red, apply it on top of the red once again, just in case your red has already dried, and then move the brush between both the colors to create this beautiful gradation that you get from one color to another, as you can see over here. And this technique, I just don't want you to practice only in straight lines. This technique you can practice like this as well. You can like create a shape like a C or an O like this, This is C for cat. And then over here you can just take another color. Similarly, apply it besides it like this. And as you can see, I have not washed my brush till yet. I'm just wiping my brush with the rough cloth, and then once again move the brush where both the colors are meeting like this. So this is called wet on wet technique, because both the paints are wet while we are blending them from the middle to get the beautiful gradation from one color to another. So after this wet on wet technique, the other technique that I've used a lot is called the dry brush technique. So to create the dry brush technique, you just take a brush that is completely dry, that doesn't have any kind of water in it, and then just drag it wherever you want the dry brush technique to appear. Just drag it like this wherever you want the dry brush technique to appear. So in the paintings, when we are learning the paintings, I will share with you where I'm using the dry brush technique. So over there for the dry brush, I'm just using a completely dry brush, dipping it in our paint, and then just dragging to create this dry brush effect. So this is the one way of using dry brush technique. I use dry brush technique usually on top of the paint. I don't use the dry brush on the blank canvas. I usually use dry brush technique on top of the paint like this. But when I'm using the dry brush technique on top of the painted surface, I have to make sure that my painted surface is completely dry. We cannot use the dry brush technique on a painted surface when the painted surface is wet. And how we are using the dry brush technique, I will share with you further when we are painting the paintings. And that is why I insist that you watch the techniques video before you get on to the final painting part. Now the next technique that I want to share with you is using acrylics as watercolor. So before I get started with any painting, I usually like to cover my entire painting with a few colors, and that just makes sure that by the time we reach the end of the painting, there are no white spots left or any kind of white dots peeking out from the canvas. So that's why I like to apply acrylic ink or watery acrylics around the canvas before getting started with the final painting. So for that, I just first take my brush and dip it in water, and I apply the water on canvas like this, and then I take some water and add it to my paint, as you can see over here like this, and then I just randomly move it on top of the watery canvas that I had created. I'm doing the same thing with yellow as well. I'm just adding some water to the yellow and then just spreading it around on the canvas using this watercolor effect. And while we are adding water to the paint, as you can see over here, if we use extreme water and then we add very little amount of paint, then it will not cover the canvas, or it will not really do what we need it to do. But we want the canvas to be covered, but not in an opaque way like this, but in a watery way. So the amount of water that you will be adding to the paint will not be too much like we did over here, but it will be in sufficient quantity that the acrylics become watery, but they don't become completely water like this one. Now the next technique that I want to share with you is creating glazes using the gloss medium. So over here I have this gloss medium by the brand Liquitex Basics. I will take out a little bit of it on my palette paper. So what gloss medium does is it makes the paint transparent. So we will take a completely dry brush and we will take some paint and we will add gloss medium to it. So without losing the pigment of the paint, the gloss medium will make this paint transparent like this. So as you can see, I will show you besides the red. So as you can see, this red is opaque and this red is transparent. So we use this transparent property that the gloss medium creates to create a lot of layers, and those layers help us create the depth in the painting. So suppose I want this yellow part over here, just this yellow part, to have a little bit of this red glaze over it. So what I'll do is I will apply this transparent red on top of this yellow part. So as you can see, in this area I have this red and it came on top of the yellow. So I'm not losing the yellow. I still have the bottom yellow, but I have a glaze of red on top of it. And this is very different from this yellow meeting the red that you see over here. So how we use the property of this gloss medium for creating glazes that bring depth in the painting, that we will be able to see further while we are painting the final painting on the canvas. And trust me, it's going to be the most amazing thing that you will get out of these 5 video series that we are creating. If there's one thing I suggest that you really focus on, is how I'm creating layers using the glazes and using the glazing medium, but because that is going to be a complete game changer and an amazing part of the class that you are working on with me. Now, after sharing with you these few techniques, let me share with you the brushes that we are going to be using for these paintings. So I'm using very few brushes for these paintings, especially some brushes from these sets. So this is the fine detail set of Artyshils art brushes, and in the fine detail set you will get all these very fine brushes, and these are usually used for creating all the detail parts of the painting. So from this I am using the liner brush and this cat stung brush. How I will show you further, and all the other brushes as well can be used for creating various amazing fine details of the painting. These sets have been specially curated and designed by me to make your life and your artist experience a lot more fun and a lot more easier, because good brushes, high quality brushes, just make the entire experience of your painting, takes it to the different level compared to if you are using some very ordinary brushes that don't work the best and they hinder your artistic process. So I'm very proud of these and I'm so happy with these, and they have some of the most amazing reviews from all over the world. And then the next 2 brushes that I'm using over here are 2 long hair filbert brushes from the Effect 2 set of Artyshils art brushes. So this is the one, and this one is in the end, that is hidden behind fan brush. And this Effect 2 set also has these 2 brushes. These 2 brushes are called the horseshoe brushes, and the horseshoe brushes have this flat top. They are round and they have this flat top, and they help us with creating things like clouds. But if you don't want to use this set, I know a lot of you have the mix set with you. If you already have this mix set, which is a mix of filbert hair brushes and cat stung brushes, you can use this set as well for your paintings. All these sets are listed in the list of materials needed, so you can check out the link over there. Next over here, I just wanted to show you once, just in very brief, how to use these brushes that we are using in the paintings for. So these paintings that I'm sharing with you, the class that I'm sharing with you, I have created all these paintings just on 8-inch canvases. So 8-inch canvases are this tiny, and that is why I'm using these sizes. But just in case you go ahead and replicate these paintings on a 12-inch canvas, or maybe a 16-inch canvas, or a 20-inch round canvas, the choice is completely yours. Then make sure that you take the larger brushes compared to this. These brushes were perfect for an 8-inch canvas, and that is why I got this. Now over here I have this filbert hair brush, and I wanted to show you how I use the round part of this filbert hair brush to create the feathers of the birds. So for creating the feather of the brush, I dip my brush in water and mix very tiny bit of the water with the paint, and I use the filbert part of the brush to create these feather-like strokes wherever I want it. And how we do that, once again, of course, you will be able to see that when we are painting the final painting. If I want to create the larger feathers, I will use the brush flat like this. If I want to create just a little thinner brush strokes for the feathers, I will use the brush standing like this. The standing brush I will press and create a thinner brush stroke to create the feather-like strokes. And if I want the brush stroke of these feathers to be even more thinner, I will just use the very sharp point. So this brush is soft, but it has a very sharp point, very sharp edge. I mean, not point, very sharp edge. And I will just use the edge to create my very thin feather-like strokes for these birds. You might not be able to do this with a flat brush, or even the round brush might not get you the effect that a filbert hair brush will get. So definitely invest in the filbert hair brushes if you don't have them already. And then over here I use this filbert hair brush as well. This is the number 2 long hair filbert hair brush from the Effect 2 set, but you can use any other size of the filbert hair brush, whatever suits you. And then as you can see, after using my brush for painting, I'm immediately just washing my brush at least with water. At least with water, I have to clean and make sure I don't just keep my brush on the side with acrylic paint on it. That's because if the acrylic paint dries on my brush will be ruined forever. And then over here I have my liner brush. This is from the fine detail set of Artyshils art brushes, and liner brushes are absolutely amazing to create these long thin lines. So I once again dip my brush in water and I add some water to my acrylic paint, as you can see, and I mix the water with acrylic paint. I don't just dip my brush in water and then put the water in acrylic paint and apply. No, I have to nicely mix the water with the acrylic paint to thin down its consistency a little bit, and the liner brush just helps us create these very thin lines. So if you want to create these very sharp thin lines for any space or area, you can use the liner brush. So over here, as you can see, I can use the liner brush to create, some very detailed fine strokes of feathers between the larger feathers that I had created. And then anywhere I need to create long lines, of course this once again works very well. And this is very different from a round brush. You might not get these amazing thin lines with the round brush, but the liner brush just works like magic. And the last brush, that is once again from the fine detailer brush I wanted to show you, was this number 0 brush, which this is a very tiny brush that I've used in this painting. So for this I just dip my brush in water or take some paint, like thick paint with a tiny bit of water in it, and I use the V shape of it. So I'm using the V shape of it to create these tiny brush strokes that represent feathers, that look like feathers over here, like this. Because of this shape, this beautiful V shape, we get these feather-like strokes without any major effort. It's just naturally happening, as you can see over here. So yeah, I'm very excited to take you through these paintings and use all these techniques and brush strokes. But one most important part about using acrylic paints on canvas is how to keep your brushes clean and tidy so they remain with you for years and years to come and not just get spoiled in a month or two of painting. So for that, I really highly recommend that you invest in these brush cleaning soap jars. These brush cleaning soap jars is a brand new launch. We are launching a gold collection and this is a part of that. And this brush cleaning soap jar has a very special formula that helps the hair of your brushes remain clean and soft and as good as brand new if you use this to clean them after every painting you create. And with this brush cleaning soap jar, I have also made sure that we add some glitter at the end. I'm not sure if you are able to see this, but this has this beautiful glitter on the back of it, and this glitter doesn't have any purpose in this brush cleaning soap jar. It's just to make us happy, just to spread some happiness when you own this. Whenever you have this thing in your hand and you just turn it around and you just see the magic. So that was the intention of this glitter. It doesn't have any main purpose, but the main purpose lies inside. Oh my god, as soon as you open it, you will get a beautiful scent. It has this amazing floral scent that'll just brighten up and make your studio space feel even more cozier. And that scent is not going to go anywhere. You can wash your brushes all you want, that scent is still going to remain in that. And we have this brush cleaning soap jar in two sizes. This is a big size and this is the smaller size as well. You won't find this on website because we have not launched this yet, but you will be able to find this on my website till Feb 2025. I'm excited to launch this entire collection. So yes, that being said, I will just show you how to clean your brushes. I have my jar that I have been using for quite some time now. So whatever brush you have used, you just dip that brush in the same water, the water that you used for your painting, and then move that brush left and right on top of this brush cleaning soap jar, as you can see. And then just take whatever soap is there and then just clean your brush in the same water that you used for painting. Once again, if you want to go for the second round, just dip your brush in the same water, move it left and right on top of the brush cleaning soap jar like this. And this special formula of the soap will just help your brushes, the hair of the brushes, remain as soft as brand new once they are dry. So once again, once you're done moving your brush left and right, take all the soap in that brush, wash your brush in the same water. You don't even have to go to your sink to wash your brush. You can just do this on the table. That is the convenience of this amazing formula that we've used in the soap jar. And then pat your brush on the clean side of your rough cloth. So pat your brush on the clean side of your rough cloth like this, and then don't keep it back in your container holding the brush like this, because if there is any water and if it goes inside from the furrow on the wood, then this just makes the wood break, or it just makes the wood and the furrow to separate, and we don't want that. So after washing the brush with the normal water and the brush cleaning soap jar, just keep your brush on the side like this for at least a few hours to dry up completely, and then only go ahead and keep it in your jar like this. So yes, these are all the tips that I had to share, and I really hope that you found this video helpful, and I can't wait to see what you create from these 5 workshop series. I would love to know your thoughts, and I would love to know what your feelings are about the techniques as well, and about the painting videos as well, as your feedback really means a lot to me and helps me get even better things for you in the future. Okay, so we are done with all the techniques, and I really hope that you have practiced these techniques quite a few times, as I have been insisting in all my videos as well, and only then you will move on to the final painting part. I really hope that you will find these techniques helpful, because if you practice these techniques and if you apply these techniques to create the final paintings that I'm sharing with you, it will definitely help you understand the process even more, and it will help you go further with your art and your art practice. I really hope that you learned a lot from here as well, and if you have any questions, feel free to let me know, and I'll be more than happy to get back to you. So I will see you there further in the final paintings, and till then, bye and happy creating. Bye.